The first thing they taught Dale was how to die. Nobody bothered showing him where the bunks were, or how the food machines worked. That came later. The death lesson came first, and the small gray alien giving it did not smile once. His name was Olin. He stood half a head shorter than Dale, with thin arms and a long, worried face. He held up a sealed glass tube. Inside it sat a single drop of something dark gold, thick as honey, slow as it rolled. The drop seemed to drink the light around it. This, Olin said, is bile resin. Look at it. Never forget what it looks like. Dale looked. It did not seem like much to him. A drop of dirty syrup in a tube. Olin carried a thick block of gray steel to the workbench, the kind used for hull plates. He tipped the tube and let one drop fall onto the metal. The drop hit the steel and hissed. A thin curl of smoke went up. Then, while Dale watched, the drop sank straight down through the block. It cut a clean hole through solid steel in the time it took to breathe twice, and left a small dark scar smoking on the bench below. The other workers had gone quiet. They were all aliens, thin and gray, and they were all watching to see how the new human would take it. Dale leaned in close and studied the little hole. Huh, that's quick. Olin stared at him. He had expected fear. New workers usually stepped back. One had fainted years ago. This human only looked curious, the way you look at a clever machine doing a strange trick. That is what it does to steel, Olin said. Now think about what it does to skin, to flesh, to you. He pulled his sleeve up. His arm was gray and smooth and very thin. One drop that size, on me, would burn down to the bone before I could even scream. Nobody could save me. Nobody. Okay, Dale said. So don't touch it. Got it. It is not that simple. Olin led him out into the hall. This whole station runs on the stuff. We pull it from the gas giant below us, clean it, store it, sell it. It is in the tanks and the pipes and the pumps, behind walls thinner than you would like. That is why we have so many rules. The hall was long and lined with heavy doors, each one painted with a yellow stripe. Olin pointed out the sealed suits hanging in a row, the showers built into the walls, the alarms, the lines painted on the floor that nobody crossed without a suit. 3 seals before you go into a hot zone. Always 3. If an alarm sounds, you never run toward it. You run away, seal the door behind you, and you let the room deal with whatever is loose inside. We do not play hero here. Heroes leave nothing behind for us to bury. They reached the main floor, a huge cold space full of pipes and tanks that climbed up into the dark. A few workers moved between them, slow and careful, every step planned in advance. A big alien with a scarred face came over and looked Dale up and down, slow and rude about it. This was the foreman, Brask. So this is the human, he said. Soft hands. Soft world. You will scream the first time that bell rings, human. They always do. Dale just shrugged. Maybe. The easy answer seemed to bother Brask more than an argument would have. He grunted and walked off. A younger alien crept closer instead, small, with wide bright eyes, carrying a toolkit too big for his arms. His name was Teln, an apprentice, barely more than a kid. Is it true, Teln whispered, that humans come from a poison world? Dale smiled a little. It's not poison to us. It's just home. Teln's eyes went wider still, and he opened his mouth for 100 more questions, but Olin shooed him back to work. The shift wore on. Dale lifted and carried and bolted, calm and steady, and he did it well. He never crossed the painted lines. He never touched the tubes. Olin started to relax. Maybe this human had some sense after all. But Dale was not relaxed. Working near an old part of the floor, past tanks that were clearly older than the rest, he kept stopping. He kept turning his head. He could hear something the others could not. A thin little hiss, so quiet it was nearly nothing, coming and going from somewhere behind a tank wall that nobody had checked in a long while. He frowned at the wall. Then the bell rang for rest, and the workers filed out, and the floor went still. The hiss kept going in the dark, alone. On the old tank, hidden in shadow, a thin crack had opened in the metal. Just a hairline. Just the start of one. Nobody who mattered had seen it. Not yet. 3 days in, the crew decided the human was strange in ways the safety manual had never thought to mention. It started with the water. The station water got cleaned over and over, because even a trace of the wrong mineral could make an alien sick. Dale filled a cup straight from the old pipe, the dirty one, and drank it down without checking anything. Olin felt ill just watching him. That line is not safe, he said. There could be metal in it. Bad salts. It could hurt you. Dale wiped his mouth. Tasted fine to me. It is not about the taste. But Dale had already gone back to work, and the day passed, and nothing happened to him. Nothing ever seemed to happen to him. That night, in the rest hall, Teln sat across from Dale and could not hold the questions in any longer. Tell me about Earth, the young alien said. Brask says it is a death world. He says only monsters could live there. Is that true? Dale laughed under his breath. It's not a death world to me. It's just where I'm from. He thought for a moment. Guess it might sound rough if you didn't grow up with it, though. Tell me, Teln begged. So Dale did. He started with the sun, a fire so strong it could burn your skin in an afternoon if you were not careful. From there he went to the oceans, wide and deep enough that the bottom was crushing black, full of salt that would dry a body right out. He mentioned the storms almost as an afterthought, walls of wind that ripped roofs off houses, and the cold places where the air alone could freeze your fingers in minutes. Teln's mouth hung open. The small things were worse, somehow. Bugs that carried sickness, plants grown with thorns and poison, animals with teeth that hunted in the dark. Dale told him the air back home was thick and heavy and crowded with tiny living things too small to see, and that a human body fought them off all day long without anyone even noticing. And the food, Dale added, almost laughing now. We eat things that fight back. Peppers that burn your mouth, on purpose, because we like the burn. We let milk go sour, turn it into cheese, and eat that too. On purpose. Teln looked like he might be sick. On purpose. By now a few other workers had drifted over to listen. Even Olin stood at the edge of it, cleaning a tool he had already cleaned, not missing a word. And inside you, Olin said quietly, unable to help himself. What is inside a human? Dale tilted his head. Same as anyone, I figure. Blood, bones, the usual. Your stomach. Olin pressed closer. What is in your stomach? Acid, Dale said. Strong stuff. Breaks down whatever I eat, bone and meat and all. The room went very quiet. Olin's voice dropped to almost nothing. You carry acid. Inside you. All the time. Sure. Doesn't everyone? The aliens looked at one another. A couple of them stepped back from the table without meaning to. To them, it was a nightmare made real. Their own insides were soft and gentle, easy to ruin with the smallest wrong thing. And here sat a creature who walked around with acid in his gut and thought nothing of it. Teln stared at him like he was a ghost. So the old stories are true. Humans are made of the very stuff that scares us most. Dale frowned, finally catching the looks on their faces. Come on now. We're just people. We bleed. We hurt. We die. Same as anyone. He held up his hand. Cut me, and I bleed red. You bleed gray. That's about the only difference. It did not comfort them. They looked afraid in a new and quieter way than before. Brask had been standing in the doorway the whole time, arms folded, his face sour. Stories, he spat. Big talk from a soft world, that is all. He is lucky. Lucky he has not met the resin yet. He jabbed a long finger at Dale. Rules do not care how tough you think you are, human. The resin does not care what is in your belly. It will eat you the same as it eats anyone. So follow the rules, and stop filling the boy's head with tales. He turned and left. The group broke up after that. The workers went to their bunks, but they kept stealing glances at Dale, the man with fire in his blood. Olin stayed behind. He sat down where Teln had been. I do not think you are lucky, he said softly. I think you are something we have no word for. And I am honestly not sure whether to be glad you are here or afraid of it. Dale had no answer for that. He nodded, tired, and went to bed. Olin stayed awake a long while. He kept turning the idea over. Acid carried around inside a living body and called nothing at all. Down on the cold floor, past the painted lines, the hairline crack on the forgotten tank had grown. It was wider now, the width of a thread, and a sound leaked out of it that none of the sleeping crew could hear. A thin, steady hiss. Then, drip. The first drop had begun to fall. The alarm did not start loud, and that was the worst of it. It began as one soft tone, almost polite, like somebody knocking quietly at a door. On a station full of careful aliens, even a soft tone could empty a room in seconds. Dale was halfway through his shift, bolting a panel near the old section, when the tone began. Every worker around him froze, then moved at once, fast and silent, toward the doors. A red light spun above the old tanks. A flat voice came out of the walls, the same words in every language. Containment leak. Old section. Seal and withdraw. Olin was at Dale's side in a breath, grabbing his arm. Come. Now. We go up. We seal the floor. We let the room handle it. But the soft tone climbed into a hard, screaming bell, and the flat voice came back, less calm than before. Sensor failure. Leak spreading. That changed everything. The old section's eyes had gone dark. The station could no longer see where the acid was going, only that it was loose somewhere down there. Brass came running, his scarred face pulled tight, shouting workers toward the lift. Up! Everyone up! Move! They ran. The painted lines that had meant so much a minute ago meant nothing now, because nobody knew where the real edge of danger sat anymore. Dale let Olin pull him along with the rest. Then they heard the cry. It came from deep in the old section, past a row of tanks. A thin, high cry, pure fear in it. Somebody had been down there checking pipes when the alarm went off, and now they were trapped. Dale stopped. Olin pulled harder. We cannot. The suits are all up top. By the time we reach them and come back, it will already be over. But Dale was looking. He stepped back the way they had come, toward the cry, shrugging off Olin's grip, and what he saw stopped even him for a second. In the narrow gap between two old tanks stood a young worker, pressed flat against a dead-end wall, shaking too hard to move. In front of them, spreading slow and wide across the floor, was a pool of dark gold. Bioresin. It poured from the cracked tank in a thin, steady stream and gathered on the floor, creeping outward like spilled syrup, smoking where it touched the metal. It had cut the worker off completely. The only way out led straight across the pool, and no alien could cross even an inch of that and live. Help, the trapped worker whispered. Please, help me. Brask arrived behind Dale, breathing hard. One look and his face went gray. There is nothing we can do. His voice shook. The suits. We need the suits. How long to get them? Dale asked. Minutes. 6, maybe more. Dale looked at the pool, then at the stream still feeding it, at how fast the gold was growing. He ran the numbers in his head, cold and quick. They don't have 6 minutes, he said. The pool reaches that wall before then. It'll cut off the airspace they're standing in, and the fumes will drop them where they stand. Then they are gone. Brask actually stepped back. We do not throw lives away. We do not send anyone in without a suit. That is the law of this station, and I will not let you break it. Olin stood frozen between them, his eyes jumping from Dale to the trapped worker to the spreading pool. Every bit of his training screamed at him to obey. Wait for the suits. Seal the door. Let the room win, and grieve later. But the trapped worker was looking right at them. Younger even than Telm. Dale crouched at the edge of the spreading pool. The fumes came off it sharp and bitter, the kind of air that would close an alien's throat in seconds. His eyes watered hard. He kept breathing anyway. Human, Brask warned low. Do not. Dale rolled up his sleeve. The aliens around him gasped. Word had spread fast, and more of them had crept back to the top of the section to watch, pulled in by horror they could not look away from. Telm was among them, small hands clamped over his mouth. Dale, Olin said, his voice cracking. That is steel-eating acid. You saw what one drop did to that block. I saw, Dale said. He looked at the gold, then at the scared child on the far side of it. He did not look brave. He did not look frightened. He looked like a man sizing up a hard job that had landed on him. Eats through steel, he said, mostly to himself. He flexed his bare fingers. Yeah, but I'm not steel. Stop, Brask shouted. That is an order. You will die, and your death will be on my hands. Dale did not seem to hear him. He set his weight, fixed his jaw, and reached his bare hand down toward the dark gold pool. Every alien on that floor stopped breathing. They knew what one drop had done to solid metal. They were certain, all of them, that they were about to watch a human come apart in front of their eyes. Olin could not look away. Telm could not look away. And Dale's bare fingers touched the acid. For one long second, nothing happened at all, and that second was the loudest thing on the whole station. Then the acid hissed. A thin curl of smoke rose off Dale's fingers where they met the dark gold. It was the same hungry hiss it had made on the steel block days ago, in Olin's safety lesson. The same sound that had cut clean through solid metal. Every alien watching braced to see the hand vanish, to see bone, then nothing. Dale's face twisted. It hurt. It hurt far worse than he had let anyone see, like the worst burn of his life pressed into his fingers all at once. A low sound came out of him, half growl, half grunt. But the hand was still there. His skin went red and started to blister along the edge where the gold touched it. A thin layer burned away, raw and angry. The acid did not sink through him the way it had sunk through steel, though. It bit at the surface, furious, and got no further than that. Human skin was not the soft, gentle stuff the gold had been built to dissolve. The body that carried acid in its own belly, grown on a world of storms and poison and teeth, did not melt the way the whole galaxy expected it to. It hurt like fire. It held. Dale did not waste the moment being amazed at himself. He had a job in front of him. He shoved his hand deeper, teeth grinding so hard his jaw ached, and pushed his whole arm through the pool. The gold swallowed his forearm and hissed white smoke around it. The pain climbed to his shoulder. His eyes streamed. He roared through it. "Reach," he shouted at the child across the pool. "Reach for me now." The young worker only stared, frozen by terror and by the sight of a living arm sunk in the killing gold. "Now!" The child lunged. Thin gray fingers stretched across the pool. Dale's burning hand closed around them and pulled. He hauled the small body up and over the dark gold in one hard, fast swing, and dropped the child clear onto the safe metal behind him. The young worker hit the floor, scrambled back, curled up shaking. Alive. Whole. Not a mark on them. Dale yanked his own arm back out. Smoke poured off it. He staggered to the wall shower, slammed the lever with his shoulder, and shoved his arm under the rushing water. When it hit the burns, he made a sound through his teeth that nobody there would forget. He rinsed and rinsed, washing every trace of the gold away, his whole body shaking with it. When the water finally ran clear, he leaned his head against the cold wall and breathed. His hand was wrecked. The skin was burned raw and blistered, red and white in ugly patches, 2 fingers already swelling thick. It looked like a bad day at a foundry, like a man who had grabbed a hot pipe by accident. It did not look like a man who was dying. It would heal. The whole floor stood silent. Not one alien moved or made a sound. They stood among the old tanks and stared at the human leaning on the shower wall, water dripping off his ruined hand, and they could not make their eyes agree with what they had just seen. They had watched him put his bare body into steel-eating acid. And there he stood. Olin moved first. He crossed the floor slowly, the way you walk towards something holy and terrible at once. He looked at the rescued child, still weeping. He looked at the smoking pool. He looked at Dale's hand, then up at his tired face. His voice came out the smallest whisper. "What are you?" Dale let out a shaky breath and flexed his fingers, wincing. "Told you. Not steel." Brask stood apart from all of them. The big foreman, the one who had ordered Dale to stop, the one who had called him soft and lucky, said nothing. His scarred face had gone slack. The thing he had been so sure of, that a human was just a fragile creature who would scream at the first bell, had cracked straight through, the way the tank had. Teln pushed past the others and ran to Dale, eyes huge and wet. "You went in. You put your hand in the gold. Nobody can do that. Nobody." "A human can," Olin said quietly, still staring. "A human just did." Dale wanted to wave it off. He wanted to say any of his people could have done the same, that there was nothing special about him back home. But the looks on their faces stopped the words in his throat. They were not looking at a brave man. They were looking at a creature from a world none of them could survive for an hour. Then the station's voice spoke again. Not soft now. Not steady. The flat words came fast and cold, and they froze the blood of everyone who heard them. "Warning. Main tank pressure rising. Cracks spreading to primary containment. Full rupture in 12 minutes. The leak had been the small problem. The big one was on its way. 12 minutes is a strange amount of time. Too long to just give up. Too short to stay calm. On the refinery station, those 12 minutes started counting down, and every soul aboard felt each one fall away like a stone dropped into a deep well. The control room filled up fast. Brask stood at the main screen with both hands flat on the desk to keep them from shaking. Olin was beside him, reading numbers off the board. Dale came in last, his burned hand wrapped in a wet cloth, water still running from his sleeve. On the screen was a map of the station, and at the center of it sat the primary tank, glowing red. A thin white line crawled across it. That was the crack, growing slowly toward a joint where 2 great pipes came together. "If the crack reaches that joint," Olin said, the joint fails. And if the joint fails, the whole tank lets go at once. How much is in there? Dale asked. Olin swallowed. Enough to flood every floor on this side of the station. Enough to fill these halls to the ceiling. Doors and seals will not matter. It pours into the air vents, and the fumes reach the crew long before the flood does. So we run, Brask said. Get to the ships. Leave the station behind. There is no time. The ships are on the far side. 12 minutes is not enough to wake them, load them, and pull clear. We would still be at the docks when the fumes found us. Brask hit the desk with his fist. For the first time, the proud foreman looked lost. Dale studied the map. He had a builder's eye, a worker's eye, and he was already tracing the pipes in his head. What stops it? If the tank goes, what holds it back? Olin pulled up a second screen. There is a master valve. Here. He pointed to a spot deep in the tank chamber, low to the floor. Close it, and the tank is cut off from the joint. Then the crack can spread as much as it likes. With the valve shut, the rest stays sealed. So shut it. It is a hand valve. Olin's voice dropped. Old. Built before the station, trusted machines with everything. It has to be turned by hand, a lot of turns, and it sits at the bottom of the chamber. He looked up at Dale. By the time anyone reaches it, the floor down there will be under a layer of resin already. The leak is pooling at the bottom right now. To reach the valve, you would have to stand in the gold and work in it. A full minute, probably longer. The room went quiet again. Everyone understood without it being said. No alien could do it, suit or no suit. A suit could not move quickly enough through the narrow chamber, and even a suit would fail in that much acid for that long. Reaching the valve and turning it simply meant death for them. Olin did not say the rest out loud. He did not have to. Every eye in the room turned, slow, to the human with the burned hand. Dale looked back at them. He peeled the wet cloth off his hand and flexed his swollen fingers, hissing at the pain. The burns from the pool were still screaming at him, and now they wanted him to go back in, deeper, for longer. Just so we're clear, he said. You want me to wade into a flooding room full of that stuff and turn a stiff old valve by hand? With this, he held up the ruined hand. I am not asking. Brask stepped forward, and the anger had drained out of his face. In its place was something the old foreman had never once shown a human. I am begging. I called you soft. I called you lucky. I was a fool. You are the only one aboard with any chance at all, and I have no right to send you in. So I am begging. Save my crew. It cost Brask a great deal to say it, and everyone in that room knew the size of it. Dale was quiet a moment. He thought of the child he had pulled from the pool, safe now in the rest hall. He thought of Talon's huge wet eyes. He thought of his own world, the storms and the fire and the poison, all the things that had made him what he was, things he had never once thought of as gifts until right now. Yeah, he said at last. Okay, I'll go. The relief on Olin's face was almost too much to look at. There was no time to thank anybody. The screen flashed. The white crack had crept nearer the joint. The flat voice spoke. 9 minutes to full rupture. They moved. Olin ran with Dale toward the chamber, calling out the way ahead. They took the lift down, cut through the old section, past the dark pool from before, then down a narrow stair into the heart of the station, where the air already hung thick and sharp and the floor had gone wet with creeping gold. At the bottom waited a heavy round door. Past it lay the tank chamber, the valve, and a slow rising flood of the deadliest thing in the galaxy. Then footsteps behind them. Dale turned. It was Reese, the other human, his co-worker, breathing hard, a roll of cloth and gloves tucked under his arm. Heard the call, Reese said. You're not doing this on your own. Dale looked at him, and for the first time since the alarm, he almost smiled. No, he said. Guess I'm not. Olin grabbed the wheel of the heavy door. Ready? Dale faced it. Behind it, the gold was rising. Open it. The heavy door swung open, and the smell reached them before anything else, sharp and bitter and somehow alive. It smelled like something that wanted to eat the world. Inside, the chamber was a tall round room crowded with pipes, and the floor was already gone. In its place lay a shallow lake of dark gold, rising slow but steady, smoking where it met the walls. Across the room, half sunk in the rising flood, sat the valve. A great iron wheel on a thick stem, old and stiff, the one thing that could save them all. Reese pulled on the gloves he had brought, though they both knew the gloves would not last. Nothing lasted long in there. You turn it, Reese said. I keep you on your feet. You go down, you're not coming up alone. Dale nodded once and stepped into the gold. The pain came back all at once, worse than before, racing up his legs like fire. He had braced for it, and it still nearly dropped him. He pushed forward through the smoking lake, every step a fight, his face screwed up, his breath coming in short, hard bursts. Behind him in the doorway, Olin watched, helpless, every part of him aching to follow and not able to take a single step into that room. On the screens above, the whole crew watched too. Brask, Telm, the child Dale had saved, all of them staring at two humans wading into the killing gold like it was nothing worse than cold seawater. 5 minutes, the flat voice said. Dale reached the valve and grabbed the iron wheel with both bare hands, and the world went white with pain. He pulled. The wheel did not move. It was old, locked tight with rust and years. Come on, he growled. Come on. He planted his feet in the gold, set himself, and threw his whole weight against the wheel. His shoulders strained. His ruined hands burned. The acid licked up his arms and his chest and across his face. He roared. Reese moved in behind him, got his hands on the wheel too, and the two of them pulled together. It gave. Half an inch. Then a whole inch. Again. Dale shouted. They pulled again. The wheel ground around, slow, fighting them for every degree. Drop by drop the valve began to close. Their skin blistered. Their eyes streamed. The fumes clawed at their throats and tried to shut them. None of it was enough to stop them, because whatever the gold had been built to kill, it was not them, and they did not let go. 3 minutes. The last turns were the worst. The wheel nearly shut and harder than ever. Reese slipped on the slick floor, went down on one knee in the gold, cried out, dragged himself back up. Dale caught his arm and steadied him, and together they forced the wheel through one final brutal turn, both of them shouting through the pain. The wheel locked. The valve slammed shut. For 1 second nothing changed. Then the deep groan that had filled the whole station, the sound of a tank about to burst, began to fade. The pressure had somewhere to stop now. Let the cracks spread and reach the joint. It did not matter anymore, because the gold behind it had nowhere left to go. On the screen the red glow began to cool. The flat voice spoke one last time, and it sounded almost gentle again. Pressure falling. Rupture stopped. Containment holding. The control room came apart. Aliens who never raised their voices were shouting and clutching at one another and weeping. Brask sat down hard in his chair and put his face in his hands. In the chamber, Dale and Reese half carried each other to the door. Olin caught them, dragged them clear, slammed the door behind them. The two humans went down in the stairwell, burned and shaking and grinning like a pair of fools. They had to flush the gold off in the long emergency showers, and that hurt nearly as much as the chamber had. Their hands and arms and faces were a wreck, raw and blistered, the worst burns of their lives. They would carry the scars for good. But they were alive, and so was every soul on the station. A long while later, Dale sat in the rest hall with his hands wrapped in clean cloth, while Olin gently worked on the burns across his face. The whole crew kept finding small reasons to pass by, just to look at him, just to stand near him for a moment. Telm crouched in front of him, eyes still wide. Is all of Earth like you? Could anyone from your world have done that? Dale thought about it. He could have softened the answer. He gave the true one instead. Yeah, he said quietly. Any of us. We wouldn't even think about it. Where I'm from, this is just a bad day at work. The young alien sat back, knocked silent. The others heard it too, and a strange hush settled over the room. It was not the fear from before. It was deeper than that. The kind of respect you give a force of nature once you understand you are lucky it stands on your side. Brask came last. The big foreman stood over Dale and could not find his words for a moment. Then he bowed his scarred head, low, the way his people bowed only to the things they truly honored. I was wrong about you, he said. About all of you. Dale just nodded. He was too tired for more than that. Days later, on his last shift before his contract ran out, Dale stood at a viewport looking out at the stars. Olin found him there. They say the galaxy whispers about Earth, Olin said. About the death world and the things it grows. I never believed a word of it. I do now. Dale smiled a little, watching the far stars where home sat, too small to see. They warned me the acid would eat through steel, he said. Olin looked at him. They never warned the acid about me.